Sometimes you find that when you do word searches in Logos that different versions have different results. For example, in Logos Lesson 3, finding all words that contain verses that contain a word, the NASB had 165 occurrences of Paul, the King James had 162, and the NIV had 213. That's a striking difference. How do we tell where each of these versions have the word using Logos? Well, Logos has an option called the grid view. And so if you've done your search, you can click on grid, and it will list all the verses here, indicating the NASB with the color blue that it's in the verse. By changing the search version to, and typing as I have here, King James, NASB, NIV, it searches my library, finds all the resources that have those abbreviations, and it tells me that I have 4 Bibles with that. There's 4 because the Logos treats the King James canonical text as a version and then the apocryphal text as a second version. But it won't list them separately unless there's occurrence in them. So I'm going to click on this option, 4 Bibles with. And when I do that, it does a search. I come back and click the grid version. And now I see the NASB, the King James, and the NIV listed. And I can see that, for example, in Acts 13:42, the King James does not have Paul, whereas the NASB and the NIV do. On the other hand, in Acts 14:1 and 3, the NIV uses the name Paul, and the King James and the NASB do not. Now, we're not seeing it there because the primary search was done with the NASB. If I click on NIV up here at the top, then it will do the primary search in the NIV, and we'll see that the NIV has Paul and Paul here. Again, if I click on the King James, it will redo that search, and I'll see what the King James says in each of these verses. A very handy way to identify the location where a particular version has or does not have a word that you're looking at.